All right, so the property market, what's actually happening on the ground right now? Steph, talk to me.
I'm actually seeing positive signs. I was really worried going into like July, August time, especially having had the election and all the results of that and the new government. And, I was concerned that we were then going to see a really slow summer because summer holidays are generally a little bit slower in terms of activity levels anyway. And I just thought it was going to be even worse than normal. So I was panicking a little bit behind the scenes, obviously. But actually, when I'm looking at like the marketing updates I'm doing for my clients on a bi-weekly basis at the moment, compared to the last sort of 7 days, the interest rate levels they're getting online has gone up across the board. Like all properties are getting probably about 10% more interest on average compared to where they were last week, which is really unusual for this time of year. Normally we see a dip off rather than an increase. So I think that indicates positivity in the market in general, basically.
And I think that's exactly what we're seeing. So last quarter, you sold just shy of £9 million of a property, which is amazing. And what's more amazing about that is that we love to work in the family market. We're not talking we sold one house for nearly 9 million. Like there's some volume there as well. So to
Yeah.
get a nice overview of what's happening right on the ground. And I'd agree, like I said, the best thing that could happen with that whole election is it happened quickly. Because I already felt like when people knew that there was going to be an election, I felt like people were already starting to sit on their hands. And when it was announced, it could have been December, but it ended up being July. Was it July? Yeah, it was July, wasn't it? Yeah, this month. So that was the best thing that could happen because I think from off the back of that, people have thought, right, let's get moving. And I genuinely think prices have bottomed out. So I think if people are going to keep waiting for another 6 to 12 months, they're going to be paying more for a house. I was having a chat with my tennis coach yesterday, and he said, "What would you do?" I said, "Well, you got a choice. You pay a high interest rate now and get locked in for 2, 3 years, but you pay a lower price for a house, or you wait a year and you'll have a lower interest rate because rates are going to start coming down, but you'll pay more for a house."
But I think that's the key thing is right now where we're seeing like the trends in terms of the housing market and prices and also mortgage rates. Realistically, you know that you can get a fixed mortgage for 2 years. You don't have to tie yourself into a really long mortgage deal.
Yeah.
So if you're worried about mortgage rates and you think that they're going to go down in the next year or so, then exactly like you say, buy a place now, you get a 2 year fixed rate mortgage, and then in 2 years time you come out of that, go for whatever the rates are at the time, which everyone seems to think they'll be lower, let's see. As you say, in that process you've also bought a house at a lower price than you probably would do a year later. Because I
I would
agree with you, I
rather
think prices are not going to go down any further.
My preference is I'd rather, if I can afford it, obviously, I'm not advocating you should stretch yourself and not be able to pay your mortgage, but if you can pay your mortgage, I'd rather pay a higher amount now and have more equity in, let's say, a year or two's time sitting in my house than paying probably still reasonable mortgage in the next, because rates won't come down to where they've ever been ever again, I don't think, but they'll come down more manageable and then have more equity because then when you want to, because he was talking about waiting to buy a house. And I even said to him, just buy anything right now, even a share of freehold conversion apartment that you can kind of get into. So horses are courses, but definitely positive signs. We're going into summer holidays now. There's still this Saturday, the diary's really busy. So there's still activity out there. It just is all about pricing. And we'll do another video, I guess, on that, talking about advice around pricing.
Just to
Um,
touch on what you said there as well, just quickly, it's the old saying of don't wait to buy a house and wait. As if you're on the market and you've got a property and you're in it, actually whatever then the market does, whether it goes up or down, your property is going to follow that. So if you buy a property when it's at the lower end of the market in terms of the house prices, when the market picks up, it's going to pick up. Now you might have to wait a bit longer than you ideally would have wanted for that to happen, but actually you're going to get something out of that. But if you wait to buy a house, you're going to end up buying at a more expensive time and you won't benefit from that increase in house prices in that time that you've missed.
yeah, so that's, it's all relative. And my personal preference or opinion is that you're better off paying maybe a slightly higher repayment mortgage than repaying someone else's mortgage for them by paying huge amounts of rent because rents are still increasing as well.
Yeah.
Great little overview. Thank you so much for that, Steph. We'll see you guys on the next video.